So, hello everyone. If it's evening or if it's afternoon or if it's morning, wherever you are in the world, we wanted to welcome you. It's Lee and Robin from Finding Our Way, and welcome on this spring day. And I'm coming from Barcelona, Barcelona today, and Robin is coming from Fernie in Canada. And it's been so lovely. I've spent a lovely day outside at the beach with lots of people outside. So spring, there's definitely a lot of action happening and people waking up, kind of unfurling as they do when the winter starts to shed all its leaves, and something new. There's something fresh and new and vibrant alive. So I feel energized today. And
I saw some Canadian geese this morning, which means it's definitely spring because they've come back from wherever they were. But I think they're a bit, maybe they know something we don't know, because there's still a metre of snow all surrounding my house. So they obviously know it's spring. March the 1st, they've appeared. But the sun was shining. So yeah, it's feeling, if not spring outside, it's feeling spring in the lightness of the days. I'm feeling ready for that kind of newness myself. So maybe it's not happening outside, but it's happening within me, the feeling of spring.
Lovely. So we wanted to start off today's session. We wanted to draw a card from our Finding Our Way cards, and today's card is an action card, since today our theme is action. And I'm going to let Robin can pick the magic card for today.
I'll shuffle it up so we don't know what we're getting. Again, I haven't looked at these, so they're all upside down. I'm not totally random. We're going to pick this one here, which is
Resilience.
Resilience. That's interesting.
Wow. Okay. So we thought that we would start off with a breathing exercise before we get going, but we thought as part of our theme, whichever card we pick, it would kind of go according to that as well. So with resilience, I'd like to invite you just to take a moment. We're just going to do some short breathing and just a few moments of meditation. So just center yourself, sitting very comfortably and upright if that's possible, making sure that the spine is straight. And you can sit with your hands folded in your lap or on your knees. And just take a moment to notice the warmth at your heart center. Just really focus on that gently there at the center of our whole being, really, where all the emotions and the thoughts and everything stems from the mind and the heart. But just really imagining that that's a lovely little bud, a new, fresh, beautiful spring bud. And as we breathe in, we're going to take a really deep, nourishing breath all the way from the root, from our own root, from Mother Earth. Just really breathing in and breathing out. And being really slow and leisurely about it. Taking a very deep and nourishing breath in and breathing out. And just noticing how the whole being starts to relax just with the power of simple breathing. And another deep breath in and breathing out very slowly. Then just taking a moment to take stock of how you're feeling. Feeling the sensation of your body sitting on a cushion underneath you or on a chair, wherever you are. And just doing a very quick scan all the way from the toes, all the way up through the body, through the legs, up through the spine, the back of the neck, the head, and coming down on the front over the face. And just resting again at the heart. With this little flower bud at the heart. Just going to do a few breaths. And as you're breathing in, just imagining that this bud is opening up and extending all the way out, even beyond the chest, just opening up really wide. Let your imagination just roam freely. So breathing in, and as you're breathing out, just opening up those petals of this bud. Doing that again, breathing in and breathing out, and letting it with this out breath through the nose or the mouth, letting it extend as far as possible, opening up wide, breathing in and breathing out. Just doing that one last time, breathing in, extending the petals ever wider, breathing out. Taking a moment just to check in with your energy, how you're feeling. Is the mind agitated or at peace? Trying to rein it back in gently, just coming back into the space right now. Just really being here, being present and aware. And for a moment, just contemplating what this word resilience means to you. What kind of emotion does it bring up? Does it make you have a feeling of joy and curiosity? Or is there some aversion? What is this word resilience? Do you connect with that word resilience? Do you identify with that for yourself? Do you see yourself as a resilient woman? Do you feel you need to? Do you need more energy perhaps? And in terms of action, of taking action, some of the goals and plans you have, what do you need from that word? And if there's just a question mark of not even knowing what that is, just being perfectly okay with that too. So then just starting to move the body around, moving the shoulders around, bringing some energy into the body and the neck. And just giving a great big stretch above the head. And breathing out, bringing the arms down. Well, over to Robin.
Yes, well, I said, as Lee was saying at the beginning, we obviously have different themes for our reconnection calls each month, and because it's the 1st of March and it's feeling kind of spring-like, we wanted to do something about vibrancy and newness, and all that kind of conjures up with the idea of spring. And that's why the focus of this call is on initiate action. It's around that kind of spark, that energy. Maybe you've been hibernating a bit for the last few months in winter, and now it's time to go forth. And for those of you who've worked with us before, we do have the kind of the 4 pillars of our work: clarity, energy, action, and then integration. And so we are focusing on action here. But I think a really important part of that, and maybe resilience kind of comes into that a little bit as well, is that we actually need the clarity around why we even want to do this thing that we want to do. Like, rather than just kind of going out full steam ahead because action time, we actually need that clarity about why this is important to us. And then we need to make sure we've got the energy to actually go forth and do the action as well. So although we're focusing on action today and the initiation of that, I think it's really important for us to think about why we're doing it. Do we have the energy and the sustenance to keep it going? And maybe that's where that resilience comes in, is around knowing that maybe when we initiate, it's not enough, and maybe we need to go back to get the energy to then come again and initiate again, so that resilience over and over again, that we just can't keep firing and hoping that something's going to happen if we haven't got the why and the energy to go through for that. Do anything with that, Lee, that you want to kind of add to before?
Yeah, I think I like what I like that there's this emphasis on clarity on what we're doing, what kind of action we're taking, because I think often, maybe speaking for myself as a woman, if you get this kind of restlessness, also being sensitive to the season, springtime, and this newness, and everything's becoming alive around you. Especially, it's my first spring here in Barcelona, and I can really see how people behave differently in different seasons, and that kind of there's a sort of a feeling, almost like a little anxiety underneath, like of something. Okay, let's get going. We've got to do something. But having that clear direction of where you want to go, of where you want to take whatever your vision, it might be a small dream or a small project, or it might be something really huge, but being very, very clear on that, and having that kind of confidence to know that this is taking you in the right direction, really taking time out to be able to become clear as well. And I think that's why Robin and I we like to work with these 4 pillars, as you've said, Robin, to make sure that you have the clarity even before you have the energy to be able to take the action, is that real deep sense of clarity, of knowing what you want and where you want to go.
I think it's important too when we think about this initiate action. Like, I kind of, the image that comes to mind is almost at a race start, like you got the starting gun ready to go, and we all just want to just go, make it happen. And especially high energy Robin, that's kind of the impetus, is always that movement. But I think if we just go off mindlessly into the action, what's the outcome that's going to come from it? Probably something that's quite mindless or not that important to you, and you might start feeling busy and frazzled and wound down and feeling stressed and burnout and all that stuff, because you've got the action but you haven't got the idea of why you're doing it. So I love I'm feeling that kind of compulsion at the moment with the kind of changing in season and the length of the days to get to the action stage, and I think within that I just also have to be mindful that it's about why I'm doing it, and also it's not just the initiating action, because it doesn't really serve anyone to initiate lots of different things and then not there to be to sustain it too. So I think we're talking about the kind of what's going to help us get started, but within that I think we also have to then decide how we're going to sustain that action, because otherwise again it just leads to burnout. So let's think about longer term as well, that yes, it's spring, but there's going to be a summer and a fall and a winter and another spring, and if we're just initiating for the sake of it, we need to make sure it's going to sustain us for the long term as well.
Definitely. I think Robin and I really appreciate nature so much. Wherever we are in the world, we always have to have a bit of whatever wakes us up and brings us joy. So for Robin, it's especially the mountains, and for me, it's especially the ocean. And these kinds of, to make sure that you are in a space, whatever that space is. It doesn't always have to be a physical space, but whatever your living space is, or whatever that is, to make sure that is what's energizing you, that you're setting yourself up well to be able to take action, that you creating that nice foundation or that space for yourself to make sure, like you were saying, Robin, about sustaining yourself, to keep that maintenance. I always think of in nature with animals that are naturally, there's a sense, or maybe there's the instinct to be able to prepare for the future. If you think about little squirrels or something like that, they're keeping that for later. They know when to harvest. They know when to store all of those, all of their resources. So for us to be the same, for us to make sure that we're pacing ourselves well, so that when we take action, we don't run out of steam, but we've got enough sustenance to be able to keep us going in that sense. I think that's really important, and to be aware of what's happening around us, and to be aware of yourself in your kind of environment, or in your space, of when you're going, what you need to take action, to be very clear and very mindful about that, and to be very to kind of be a little bit explicit about what you need, not to always, oh no, maybe I don't need that. If you need some extra basic things, if you need some extra vitamins, take the vitamins. Don't be generous with yourself, to be able to look after yourself, so that you can go forth and conquer whatever you need to conquer, even if it's conquering yourself.
Well, the word that came up, and I know it's one we've used a few times before, but it's discerning as well. It's being about the discerning about what's actually the need here as well. So yes, you might be feeling, as Lee says, that restlessness, and maybe that's around you rather than coming from within you. Maybe that's just the feeling that's happening in your environment. But actually it's around knowing that now's not the time for the action as well. So it's, what do you need to initiate that action as well? So is it the right mind space? Is it around, as you say, is it around having vitamins? Is it around having movement? Whatever it is, whether it's a physical location, certain needs for you, physical, emotional, relationship wise, but being aware and discerning about, again, why you're doing the action, what energy you need, but then what needs to be in place for that action to happen. And I think you've got to be a little bit careful here with not using it as a procrastination technique. Well, I haven't got this, and this done, so therefore I can't start. So there's always, as we talk about a lot, there's always that balance. So, but also knowing what you need, and then allowing that sometimes to know that you need that for the action, but maybe also knowing that you don't have it right now, but that it is time to start. Because starting is hard. We like the idea of doing that a lot, but the actual initiation, there's lots of things we can tell ourselves why now's not the right time. Fear, maybe it's just tiredness, maybe it's just not being in the right space, but there's a lot of emotional stuff that we're too busy, whatever it is. So again, that balance of not using all these other things to stop us from starting.
Yeah. Robin, I was just thinking, just in terms of coaching stuff, in a sense, when I know that there's a lot of it when people feel stuck, and what kind of advice would you give somebody if they are feeling stuck, if they want to take action, but they have a sense of feeling a bit frozen or a bit stuck in that way?
As soon as you said expert, I was actually having this discussion this morning on my other accountability call for that exact same thing, and I think there's a real desire, I think, to go navel gazing at that stage. I need to know why I'm stuck. And yes, that's important sometimes, but sometimes you just got to roll up your sleeves and find ways to get moving to start with, and then the clarity can come of why you are stuck. So some of the ways I think that help for me when I am feeling kind of frozen is a very simple technique for me, is the Pomodoro technique. So that you set a 20-minute timer and just say, okay, in the next 20 minutes, I'm not going to do anything else. I'm not going to look at my Facebook. I'm not going to get up and get a cup of tea. I'm not going to go to the bathroom. I am actually just going to sit and start on this project. So whatever the thing is you want to be doing, it's do it for the next 20 minutes. If that's going for a walk, if that's doing some yoga, if that's writing a book, whatever the thing is just giving you that moment of 20 minutes and doing nothing else for that time. Because often starting's hard. And so sometimes just going, okay, I'm just going to start, just gets you a little bit of a taste of that. So I think that's one thing for me, especially with projects, is using that technique. The other one is using things like accountability. So finding people who you can say, look, I want to really do this thing, but I don't really know how to start. I'm going to try and do it for 5 minutes every day. And then can you just check in with me to see if I've done that as well? So using that accountability from other people can really help as well. And with that, one thing we've talked about a lot is knowing that maybe sometimes you need a group to help you do that. Like I said, I'm part of a swimming club here in Fernie, and definitely I don't swim as hard or as fast when I'm by myself. But once I go there and they tell me to do whatever, I'm like, okay, sure. And, off I go. And so sometimes you do need to find that group of people who are doing a thing that you want to be doing, for being a part of something. So it's just not you've got that accountability again of those around you, but also a little bit of, sometimes people can see more in you than you can yourself as well. So someone can actually just say, I think you can do this, and off you go and do that. So yeah, those are kind of things for me, is getting support, finding a group that's going to kind of support you in that process, and sometimes using, I don't want to call them mind tricks, but I kind of feel that Pomodoro is a bit of a mind trick. I mean, we can sit down and do some work, but somehow when you go, oh, I'm going to set my timer and it's going to be 20 minutes, you somehow can do that. But yeah, for you, Lee, what else do you have as kind of up your sleeve to help people kind of, or yourself?
It's quite hard sometimes. I feel that sometimes I just need to, not overthink things and just get on with it. Like sometimes I think I definitely need to be clear about what I need to do and take some stock, whether that's writing it down or contemplating or going for a nice walk and, mulling things over in my mind, whatever kind of shakes the cobwebs loose, I guess, is, they are kind of tricks. They kind of, but they're useful. They're more techniques really that you can use. And I think that's where the discernment comes in, of knowing yourself well enough to know what works for you. Sometimes when I have to work on something, especially a creative project, I can't force it. I have to wait until the muse or the inspiration is there. And I've tried it. Sometimes I have to wait, kind of ride it out, and then suddenly it'll come like a surge, and then I'll just keep going with that and produce a lot more. But other times, if it's something that's maybe not, if it's something that's kind of, a slog, or having to get through something that's a lot of work, that I might consider something that's boring to have to do, sometimes I just have to get on with it. You just have to, pull up your pants and go, okay, well, just get on with it now. Stop overthinking it too much and making the excuses for yourself, or getting distracted. Oh, let me just make another cup of tea, or let me just quickly do something else. And you kind of know that little voice inside that you have to get on with it. And then I think so I think the real skill is taking time to be able to look at yourself really honestly and saying, okay, this works for me, this doesn't work for me. This is where I need to stretch and push myself a little bit more. But maybe with certain things, I know that doesn't help me to force myself to do something else. That if you know that you will do it anyway, if you have kind of good work ethic, you'll produce it in the end. So to be very aware and very clear of what you need, and being very honest with yourself about that, but also not being in that space where you're making excuses and also copping out in a sense. So it's really that balance. But I think being in a group is very helpful. When I was in Nepal recently, there were a lot of meditators that had been there for many years, people who've known each other for a long time, many of them 20, 30 years who've been practicing together. And a lot of the people still have a lot of the same issues coming up with meditation or with practice. And those are places that, where we have blind spots for ourselves. So having a group or having a teacher or a master is sometimes very, very helpful, because they're like a mirror for you to help you see a little bit clearer. Of course, you still make your own decision and you make your own choices, but there's that. It's very, very helpful when people are together, sitting together and practicing together. There was a much older student who'd been there for many years, and she put her hand up during one of the teaching sessions, and she said, why is it that when we're all meditating together, it's so much easier for me to stay focused? And I thought that was really honest and really, really helpful for her to share that, because that's what we were all feeling. All of us together there with this group was kind of lifting all of our spirits even higher. There was that sense of, we're all in this together, this kind of camaraderie with each other. So I think, whether it's swimming or gym or yoga or whatever, it's always helpful for people to be there to support each other. You feel that strength of, it's us as a village doing this together. You don't have to do all of this by yourself. I think a lot of strength comes from that.
I think there's something actually on the flip side of that, because I always love that no matter what we talk about, there's probably the paradoxical side of it or the opposite side of it. But I think there's sometimes too where we have to just be, maybe it's the resilience. We've got to find our internal resilience. We've got to find our internal discipline. We've got to sometimes do it ourselves and not just rely on the others, right? So yes, I totally, I'm a person who needs group and community to do stuff. But one word that still makes me go, ugh, and I know I need a lot more probably focus on, is that self-discipline. And you and I have discussed this before. But I think it's a really important word to think about, again, with the initiating action, is sometimes we need to just say, like, lots of writers say, yes, the muse strikes, but actually the muse only strikes because you're the person who sits down and tries to write every day for 2 hours. So you've got to be having that discipline of every day I'm sitting, and then yes, when the muse strikes, you go with it. But maybe that muse never comes if you don't have the discipline to sit down every day. So I think that's another really important side of the initiating action, is not wishing for all environmental conditions to be working with you, but that you've got to start doing the work regularly to actually make time for it as well. And again, I love that no matter what we talk about, there's always the two sides, right? There's no kind of, it's one way or the other. But I think that's a big thing for a lot of people to work on as well, is the individual strength within you, and knowing that it's there. And yes, it might be blimmin' tough to do it, but that sometimes you just got to sit down and try and start maybe daily. So not like, oh, I've started, now everything's going to be fine. Like maybe it's about actually initiating action every day or every week or whatever your thing is. It's not just once and done.
Definitely. I think that consistency and that, that kind of repeating it or forming those good habits are so important. Whatever your process is, I think that's the thing. Whatever your, respect and honor your process, whatever your process is, but don't be too soft with yourself so that you don't get anything done either. It's like an athlete or a musician who has to train all the time. If they leave things for too long, then you forget, or the muscles get weaker, or the habits become less strong in a sense. So I think it's important to keep the momentum going consistently, even if it's a little bit or if it's a lot, but as long as that keeps on going with the action, you don't lose sight of what you're doing. I think that's very important for me with creative processes in the background. It's never really stopping the project or the work. It's simmering there in the background. So that's also the thing that keeps on going. It's not just it's not extreme stop and start, but I think that there's something about becoming aware of what your process is, being really, really clear of what you need and where you need to tighten the bow or loosen the bow a little bit, and make sure that you are balancing yourself so that you're not driving yourself crazy. You're having more sanity in your life, basically, so that you can accomplish what you need to.
So I'm not sure if there's something for each one of us to think about. Obviously we've got March ahead of us and spring coming, more and more in that time. But what's the one thing that you want to be focusing on? So what is the action that you want, and be, I was going to say reasonable, but maybe that's not the right word. Be honest with yourself, I guess, about thinking what is important to me and why do I want to do this, and knowing that. But maybe just taking some time after this call, just spending a few minutes to write down all the things that you kind of want to initiate. What are things you want to start getting energized for, and what do you need, either support you need, or what structures are you going to put in place yourself to actually go away and make sure that action not only happens but is sustainable and regular as well. Is there anything else you want to add, Lee, before we kind of, again, half an hour goes so fast with these reconnection calls. Thank you everyone for making the time for, obviously, for yourself. No. Is there anything, Lee, that you want to add before we kind of do a bit of a closing of some sort?
I think I'll just echo what you're saying about taking the time after this call, after this session, while things are fresh. while something has maybe sparked in your mind, or something has come up for you, to put that down onto paper and to put that somewhere where you can look at that again. I think that it's so powerful. Often when we go to talks or workshops, or when we have strong experiences, then we don't contain that. We don't put that down somewhere and follow up on that. It's just kind of comes in and then it evaporates very quickly. So if something clear has come up in your mind, to put that down and to remember that that's something that can support you, because it's come up in this space in context. So to honor that and to listen to your heart, to listen to what you need, and may you have clarity and resilience to be able to accomplish what you need.
And actually, as a finish, I'm just going to pull a few cards. This is totally spontaneous. I'm going to pull a few action cards for us to maybe do a short little kind of breathing or meditation to finish with, to see if any of these words are important to you. Because again, we're talking action, and I think there's lots of different types of action, and I don't even know what cards are going to be pulled, but maybe these will spark some different ideas for you as you're going into the rest of March, about what's different ways that you can do action. So I'm just going to pull 4 random cards, and interesting. First one is hibernation, and here I was just saying I was getting out of hibernation, but maybe it knows something about it then I didn't know. One is present, so how can you be present with whatever's happening? And action is research. What else do you need to find out about? Maybe that's sparking something for you. Maybe it's not about hibernation, but maybe it's research. And the final one I've pulled is enthusiasm. And how can you go maybe in the coming month with energy and enthusiasm for whatever comes up. So there's 4 very different words. Again, this is the whole idea that action doesn't have to look the same for you as well. So again, it's enthusiasm, research, present, and hibernation. Should we just do a short little finishing? I don't know, Lee, are you cool to do that, or should I finish off with a short something?
To listen to you.
Okay, we'll do a short little finishing off here. So sitting up again, nice and straight. There's probably some thoughts coming and going from what we've just been discussing. You might be congratulating yourself on, oh, I'm really good at doing this, or maybe you've picked up the stick to beat yourself up about how you haven't started, whatever. Just leave all that behind, the good and the bad, the self-congratulatory and the punishing. Just be right here in the present moment. And breathing in and out, just feeling the breath. Wherever you feel the breath, whether that's at the nostrils, whether it's in your chest, whether it's in your abdomen. Wherever you are, just feel your breath coming in and out. And know that at any time of any day, of any week, of any month, when you need to come back to yourself, you can always come back here to feeling your breath going in and out of your body. And know and trust that you have all the skills and abilities and tools to bring to life whatever action you desire. There is nothing more that is needed right now for you to go out and do what you want to do. Trust in yourself. Know that, yes, it may take some discipline. Yes, you may need some more energy. Yes, you might need a bit more clarity about what's important to you. But actually, you have all you need. So make the time, make the environment for you to roll up those sleeves and go and make it happen. that bud that Lee was talking about at the beginning has been unfurled. You are ready, you are willing to go forth and bring to life what you need to bring to life. And when you start to doubt, know that you can come back here to your breath. The breathing in and the breathing out. Again, breathing in and out. So thank you all. Take time to open your eyes, go forth into the new spring day, spring month. And thank you all for your time. Go well, and we'll see you in the first Sunday of April.
Keep on blooming.
Yeah, keep on blooming. Thanks. Bye.